All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Jenny, let's head back down. That's it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It's great to be here with you. My name is Harris. This is Jenny. Just by quick way of introduction, if you are a CSM or you care about customer success at all, I highly recommend you connect with Jenny. She's fantastic at what she does and very generous with her time and advice. We want to talk about the top 3 lessons we learned in 2023 about retention. I'm sure it's been a super easy year for everyone, just like it has been for us. One of the reasons I think we were asked to speak about this is because the dynamic at our company, we provide an onboarding software, so we work with customers and their customers. So we've seen a lot of different trends about what's happening in terms of retention throughout the space. And everyone knows this, but we think it bears remembering that we rely on retention, right? No amount of new revenue is going to fix a leaky bucket. So we wanted to share with you the things that we've learned this year.
So we all know as providers and as clients, because we are actually using software that's available to us, as well as our clients who are using us as providers. So as a provider and as a client, we know that the business turmoil that's confronted us in 2022 and 2023 is still apparent. We see companies changing, we see business models evolving. And the key thing here is, what are those things that we can practice to retain our clients and to keep them happy? So the 3 things that we typically see as key motivator, key things that are critical to keeping our business afloat is being able to retain our customers. How do we do that? We want to make sure that we are nurturing the relationship, we're building the trust with them, we are delivering on our commitments, and also, least, but it's pretty important, is what's the value to them with our deliverables, whether it be a software or whether it be a service.
Exactly right. So let's dive into the first one. I hope it does not come as a surprise to you that developing trust with your customers is critical to retaining your customers. But we want to talk about how to do that. Something that I believe deeply is that we cannot let the B2B world make us forget that we're working with people. It may be B2B, but at the end of the day, your client isn't Nike. Your client is Jessica at Nike, right? You're working with specific people at specific companies, and finding ways to build trust with them is paramount. Too often, we try to automate so much that it becomes hard for customers to connect with us and hard for them to really know us. So one thing that we try to do, and one thing that we have seen help a lot, not only with our retention, but with our customers and their customers, is find a way to be available. If a customer really needs to speak with you, find a way to make it possible, whether it's through a chatbot, a phone number, whatever the case may be. Make sure that your team is available when the customer needs you. And find ways to make genuine effort to understand their situation and what they're doing.
Right. And so some of the things that we've highlighted here are key points that we've noticed as a provider. What are those things that are really, really important to our clients that'll help us retain them? One is when they encounter a challenge or an issue, they want to be able to be kept abreast of what's going on. They want to have a quick response. If I've actually reported an issue, am I going to be waiting a month to find out whether this bug got fixed or whether the issue has been resolved? No, they want to be able to be kept abreast. So key thing here is keeping them, having a team that's quick in response and being very proactive in communicating where they're at with the issues. The next thing is also making a genuine effort to understand what is the challenge, what is the problem that you're encountering. And by doing that, you're basically building that trust, building that understanding, so you better understand what you're trying to solve, not what you think you're trying to solve, okay? And all these components that we've highlighted on the presentation itself all tie together. It's building the trust, building the relationship, and having a strong communication and transparency to the problem you're trying to solve.
Who here has ever jumped to a conclusion? Oh, just a few of you like me. So yeah, I want to highlight, there's a book called Measure What Matters by John Doerr. I'm sure a lot of you have read it or heard of it. If you haven't, It's fantastic. And there's a quote in that book where John says, transparency seeds collaboration. If you can show people what's happening behind the scenes, if you can help them understand what you need from them, and also if you can get transparency, it will help you build trust a lot better. So when we talk about building trust from the very first interaction, making a genuine effort to understand, those things go quite a long way. And they go a long way to make sure that you're delivering on commitments. I had some work at my home done recently. I don't know if anyone here has ever worked with a contractor. It was a very pleasant experience. It was very smooth from start to finish, except for one part, where the contractor told me that they'd be finished with our flooring by the end of the week. And I thought, okay, great. We were actually staying at my in-laws, which was fine, but wonderful. We'll be back in at the end of the week. Except at the end of the week, they weren't done. So I called and they said, sorry, some things got backed up. We'll be done by the end of next week. It's okay, like a little frustrating, but it's fine. We'll rearrange our plans and take care of, I have 4 little boys. So it's okay, we'll, figure out school and whatnot. Except they weren't done by the end of the next week. And this went on for 10 weeks. And I told the guy at the end, I said, if you had told me that this would take 10 weeks, I would have planned accordingly. Maybe I wouldn't have been thrilled. I'm not trying to say it would have been no big deal, but I would have planned for that. But your failure to give the right expectation led to a terrible experience for me. Whereas if you had told me, hey, this is going to take me about 10 weeks, I would have been able to plan and prepare for that. So a huge mistake that we see lead to churn is overcommitting. Thinking to yourself, well, I bet the customer feels like this has to be done right now, so I'm going to commit to having it done right now, but then you fail to make that commitment. So be as transparent as you can, like John Doerr says, to seed the collaboration and get that person involved in the process, and then make sure that you're following up on and meeting those commitments.
Yeah, and so on delivering commitments, which is typically something I have to do a lot because I'm working with the product team, communicating what the roadmap is, enhancements you're requesting. So the key thing here is setting the expectation up front. If it's going to take a whole quarter, let them know it's going to take a whole quarter, so you as a client can plan accordingly. It may be critical to you, but if the quality of the product is going to be delivered and it is what you expect it to be, which is working, and with as less bugs as possible, we're going to have to take the quarter. So our advice and what we basically practice is communicating with realistic dates, with realistic expectation. And also, in order to maintain that communication with your client, it's critical to have a regular cadence because you have those touch points. Reaching out once a quarter, reaching out once a year doesn't develop that relationship, which goes back to the number one thing that we talked about. I think the critical point here is that relationship is built over time. It's not a 1 call, 2 call. It's the consistent understanding of your client, how you work with them, and building that trust with that network that you have with them and understanding what things they're going through, what problems they're going through.
Yeah, really well said. And it's why in our product, we have a customer onboarding product, and we want to make sure there's a forecast of when you'll be complete. So similar to package tracking, right? If you have an idea of what's happening next, then you're on the same page with that company you're working with. The last thing we want to talk about is that value is not black and white for everyone. There's a difference between your value proposition and your customer's value expectation and what they hope to get out of your software. So find ways to understand what is value to them, right? If I take my kids to Disney World and I think, hey, there's a lot of fun stuff there, but the only thing they care about is Space Mountain and that's closed, then they didn't have a great time. So it's the same thing with what we sell, our services, our products. We think, hey, it's Disneyland. We built the greatest thing ever. But there are going to be things that you offer that really represent value to them. So making sure that you understand that value is critical.
Right. And the definition of the value is varied from company to company, from individuals that you're working with. So we typically, as I work with my clients, I try to understand what is the value? Why did you buy? Why did you purchase? Why are you engaging with us? What's the value that I'm delivering to you that you expect to be able to accomplish? That is something we review over and over again on our weekly calls, on our bi-monthly calls. What we're trying to do is establish that the value that we are delivering meets the expectation and meets the value of why you are engaging with GUIDEcx.
And like I said, Jenny's phenomenal at her job. It's a matter of asking those blunt questions. Be clear. It's not a secret that there's a commercial relationship here. Make sure you understand why somebody is working with your company. Those are the takeaways. That's what we've seen, not only with our customer base, but with their customer base. Find ways to build relationships and develop trust. Do that by being responsive and available. Ensure that you're delivering on commitments, but also set the right expectation with commitments so that your customers have a clear understanding of what's happening. And then remember that your value proposition is not going to be always the same as their value expectation. So do the hard work to figure out what that is, document it, make sure it's clear on renewal time, and we will see retention rates soar again following these practices. So good luck to everybody, and thanks again for being here.
Come visit us at SG 202. We're in the West Hangar.
That's right.